Okay, so second week of our the project that I'm sort of heading on painting people or drawing people. So I thought today, so last week I did a demonstration of just like a standing person or a single person, and this week I thought I'd try doing a demo of like people together. So my morning one was, I was on the back of it, can't really see it. No, I'll just do this one. So I thought I'd do these two. So one relating to another, so that's that. I've got, also the other thing I've got here is, I've got some, if anybody wants a booklet, Stacey's Auctioneers, they've got a David Hockney. Apparently David Hockney does ceramics, so David Hockney auction come out. But Vicky, who just brought me in, we were just talking about it in the morning class, and she's part of Stacey's, and she just brought me in, so if anybody wants one of those, there's some booklets there. But I thought it's quite interesting. Apparently he did some sculptures very early on in his career.
Are you talking about Stacey's the auctioneer?
Yeah. And Vicky, just because I was asking her a bit about the auctions, and I've never really been to one, so we were just talking about it, and she just brought some booklets in, so got some booklets there for anybody who wants one of those. So there's one about them in general, and one about the
Is the Hockney one, has it got lots of things on?
Sorry?
The Hockney one, has it got lots of it, or just...
I think it's just a few, it looks like just a couple of early pieces, so the cat is the main one.
They had a Picasso down there a couple of years, like before COVID, basically. One of
Yeah.
his artists, whatever.
Yeah, I think there's something in here about that. Yeah, so that could be interesting. Yeah. Anyway, they're there if anybody wants to know. Okay, so this photo I took years ago, and I quite like that as an image. So I'll do a quick demo of that. So the way I go about this is, it's very similar to what I did last week. I just get a rough idea where I want to work to start with. So just working quite lightly, and I quite often start my paintings like this. I will just get a feel for this, the sort of space and the proportions, and just make sure that things are going to fit on the page to start with. So when I'm drawing like this, I tend to hold the pencil towards the end, and I'm really drawing like from my elbow and my shoulder, rather than do details, which tends to be maybe my wrist or my finger. So there's different styles of how you can hold a pencil and how you can draw. So I'm thinking her face sort of in there, and the next one back there. I didn't really particularly like a hand up like that, so I might just try and ignore that and try and imagine a hand down here somewhere. But that would be basically just placing them on the page. I think the proportions are good enough and fit. Might need to make some adjustments as go. Then if I want to then draw into it, and into that, obviously it's got a guitar in here somewhere. I like to start on the left if I can, but I can't actually see that much of him. So I think I might be better off starting with her, and her face, and her profile, and then just seeing how she relates to him size-wise. So I'm going to go about it that way. So I think I'd like to get an idea where eye level would be. The fronts and features are about that. So I could then start to draw that in, maybe a top eyelid, eyebrow, light photo of that, and then her forehead goes up like that, nose is coming out to here, a little bit of a nostril shape, something like that. Front lip, little lips to there, a little bit of the bottom lip, a little bit of shadow under there, chin. Sort of like carefully observing that shape. I've made that a bit too deep there. Take that a bit, something a bit like that. And then there's a little bit of shadow here. And then her hairline drops down like that. And across here. And then I could then carry on drawing her and work my eye down, but I might just start to include him. So I'm thinking, well, if I carry that line of his cat across, it's not too far off of at eye level. It's sort of somewhere in here, and then there's that bit of space across there. I think the front of his head is starting about there, curving round here. That's coming under here. I'm only seeing a tiny bit of the side of his face, and I might just go back to lighter lines and just sketch it. I think that's roughly the angle of his face overall. So we've got a little bit of his forehead shape, his eye is somewhere in there, and then I think his nose is just about there, and the side of his cheek, under his chin. And I can check sort of the level of his chin. Yep, that needs to be a little bit lower than hers. Just pop my pencil across. So when you've got multiple figures, it's relating one to the other. You've really got to sort of see, well, where's that part of his hat in relation to her eyes? That's going to be about there. Where's his chin in relation to her chin? Sort of thing. So it's kind of scanning across this way. There might be vertical ones too. That's curling around there. And then the top of his hat is a little bit higher than the top of her head. I need to get that in there. I think that's about right. Again, I could perhaps check that size with something else. That needs to be bigger than so that, yeah, that's more or less right. Let's come out a little bit. Back of his head there, he's leaning forward a little bit. So his hair's there, his collar's right there, and there's a little bit of a rounded shape on his shoulders, and that drops down. But I think I like to work in this section. This is like the complicated bit, so I don't like to leave that too long. I quite often find it's much easier if I nail all the complicated bits first and then work out to the bigger shapes. And so I'm also thinking where his hands would be. So looking at his hand in relation to, so rather than coming down his arm, sometimes I like to go straight from here down to the hand. I'm just going to check that. So it's more or less in line with his chin. So yeah, perhaps some guidelines just to line that up. Perhaps do it in relation to a head. So it's about the same distances as a head. So about there would be where his hand would be. And then just try and get that hand shape. I think it talks a bit about drawing hands here. I think I did in this class. I'll try and get that alignment in the knuckles, and then the knuckles going this way, and then start to draw into the individual fingers then. So that first finger is tucked away, and then we can see part of the other finger. And that comes down there, and then the next one. 3 fingers there. Yep, that's it, that's a little bit wide. Yeah, so that gives me finger shapes. And then the collar of his shirt, that's kind of come up to here. His elbows about there. I could check, where that shape is, sort of in relation to the rest of them. I think that's about right, probably about there. Follow that there. And then his guitar, once I've got the under part of his arm, his guitar is tucked in there. It's with figures, it's really good if you can sort of see the shape of what you're drawing, say his arm, but also the shape of what's around it. So that little bit of, almost what you might call a negative shape, that shape of the guitar bit there, that shape, you sort of follow that down, and that's sort of curling round the front here. That might be a little bit wide, that's that side of it, and then this side, that's coming that way, a little bit of an angle. Or you could think of that as a whole shape and the whole form, so that'd be like almost like 2 ovals, that'd be one oval and that'd be the other. Just trying to understand that the guitar's on a bit of an angle, it's roughly 2 ovals as a structure. That might be a bit too deep there. Let's bring that back up a bit. So that would follow that. And a bit further down actually, there's more space to here. And that curve there. And then this shape here, really should just echo that shape. And along there, and then that's sort of the right angles to that up here. That part of it is going downwards that way. So I can then follow that through. And then look how much space from here to where his hand starts in, so that's about there. Again, I could relate that back to his face. That's a little bit further along. And then finger shapes in here. His little finger is almost like tucked in about there. And then perhaps back to her, I can see a little bit of his chest is about there, some of her arm is in there. His legs coming out like that. And her other arm is across here. So I'm going to keep that arm down and just try and pretend that's sort of maybe coming over here. And then her legs are, unless you see his hand, one leg is about there, and the other is about there. Bringing it out. So that's the sort of thinking process, you know, fundamentally relating one bit to another, looking for, you know, looking at the shapes I'm seeing, perhaps trying to see shapes, but also get an idea of, like, you know, the direction, the underlying structures that are underneath. So that's the way I go about drawing. That's how I'm trying to look at things. Most of my people drawing I did from doing life drawing classes, so I did a lot of drawing models. I mean, with a photo, you know, you could measure things off. You could grid the whole photo up and just transfer it on a grid, so that's another way. But if you wanted to do this kind of more kind of feel your way around kind of drawing, relating one shape to another, that's quite a nice way I find to go with. Okay, you think I've made her head too big or he's too small? Okay. Any questions? Okay, right. So,